Welcome to Watermark's Church Leadership Podcast, a conversation with church leaders for church leaders. And I'm your host, John McGee. Well, hey friends, I've got a special episode today. So the last episode was Grant Skeldon sharing his talk from CLC. And immediately after that talk, Kylen Perry, who leads our young adult ministry, and Emma Daughter, who is the director of Join the Journey, joined Grant and I on stage. And we had probably 20, 30 minutes, a quick discussion reflecting back on Grant's talk. So what we're going to do for this episode is we're going to play that audio. And then in the studio, actually right now, I have both Emma and Kylen, and I asked them to kind of bring some additional thoughts. So this is really kind of a bonus episode. You can first listen to the conversation we had on the platform at CLC, and then get some additional thoughts from both Kylen and Emma. Enjoy this episode. Good. Well, hey, in a second here, we are going out. Ask some friends, come on up, guys. So I asked Kylen Perry, who is our director of young adults, and then Emma Daughter, who has had her slingshot moment here at Watermark. She is our director of Join the Journey, which is our kind of effort to read through the scriptures in a year. And if you've kind of followed along, Emma's doing a podcast. She's created all kinds of amazing resources. So I want you to hear them reflect back on Grant's talk as young leaders. And I want them to speak to young leaders. And then I also want them to give kind of a challenge to you. Okay. And then we'll do one other thing, and then we will roll out. Okay. We are set. Let's grab a seat. Grant, and again, really well done, friend. That was kind of tongue in cheek, but that was excellent. It's everything we'd hoped it would be, and I hope that was helpful to you. So thank you guys. We got like a legit living room here.
This is crazy.
Can I get a remote, please? Yeah. And a cold drink. Why don't you two respond to everything that Grant said, or just kind of what's top of mind for you? So Emma, ladies first, what's top of mind for you?
Yeah, I think I'd love to speak to the younger leaders.
Please, let's actually start there. Let's go young leaders, and then we'll go to older leaders. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the importance of being teachable.
Yeah.
Like you get that linchpin leader, or the person who gives you, what did you call it, the question?
Compass question.
The compass question, and you have to decide in your heart, am I willing to hear that or hear the crucial feedback? Yeah. And sometimes we can come in as young leaders and think, I've got to prove myself. I've got to be seen. I've got to put up this facade of confidence, but it's masking a heart that's filled with pride or insecurity. Yep. And if we're willing to be teachable, if the answer is yes, that's when our momentum can change. It takes both.
You ever had that happen to you?
Yes.
Any stories in your past?
Yeah, I know why you ask. When I went through the Watermark Institute, I came in and I just operated with this mentality that I always was right, that my idea was best. The filter through which I heard everybody else was I'm right. Let me see if you come close to my standard. And I didn't realize that. Like I wasn't aware that that's how I'd come to operate. And I found myself in a situation where my peers in the Institute had chosen to watch a movie that we shouldn't have been watching. And instead of leading in that moment, I waited a few days and marched into our Institute director's office and just started railing on all my peers. I was like, I can't believe they would do this, and can you believe blah, 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 blah. And the issue was that right or wrong? It was wrong. The issue in that moment was that my heart was exposed because the way I was talking about my friends, it wasn't godly. And so Melissa, the Women's Institute director at the time, just looked at me and very gently said, do you know how prideful you sound right now? And that was my question. I mean, it was just like tears instantly because I didn't know, but she helped me see it.
Love it. Thank you. Kylen, what's top of mind for you, brother?
Yeah, I mean, in the spirit of being teachable, I remember, so I got my start in college ministry. Like that's where I kind of kicked things off in terms of full-time vocational ministry. And I would meet young people all the time that, man, they had big goals, great dreams, and they wanted them right now. Yeah. Which just felt crazy to me. I understood it, but I looked at them and I so frequently said the same thing. Hey man, your 20s are for learning, not arriving. You need to be teachable. Like you need to learn as much as you can right now because there are lessons that God wants to deposit in your life today that you will need come tomorrow. And then I would also look at them and I'd say, hey, it's important that you don't let your ambition outpace your submission. Like you so desperately want to be where you want to be, but you're forgetting where God has you right now. Like excel at the revealed things. Stand where your feet are planted and do as well as you can where it is you are. And then I would always say this too, just to kind of rattle off a bunch of stuff.
Kylen's got this, show your gift and then I'll
I would always say, I'm like, man, it's Matthew 6, 33, 34, right? It's like, hey, seek first the kingdom. All these things will be added unto you. Worry not about tomorrow. Tomorrow has enough trouble of its own.
Yep.
Think about today. And the idea there was like, man, it's wild that you would trust Jesus with your eternity, but you wouldn't trust him with tomorrow. Trust him.
Amen.
Just be submitted. Stand where your feet are planted. Do as well as you can right now. And I promise he'll pave the way and he'll lead you forward in time.
That's right. If you're Joseph and you find yourself behind bars, polish them.
Yeah.
Right? Polish them. If Pharaoh will find you.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just I want to believe that he did. He made something better because they gave him more behind while he was literally in prison.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to give an alliteration, and Kylen has got this amazing ability to just spit out everything in alliteration. It's like hardwired. He got a chip that I did not have on the install, and it's pretty amazing to watch. I was assured there was going to be 3 A's off the top of the dome. So
I'll try not to let you down.
Okay, thank you, man.
Can figure it out.
Grant, honestly, one of the reasons I wanted you to share that was because I saw you live that, but not just to be a recipient of that. I saw you do things that made others want to. They didn't, it wasn't random. They saw something in you because of who you were and what you were doing and the way you conducted yourself. I was at the table when others were championing you. Mm-hmm. Can you kind of deconstruct what it was that you did that you think allowed other people to do, these people over here to invest in you?
Yeah. I mean, I do think you have to be faithful, available, teachable. I usually say hungry as well. And there's a book by Emerson Eggerichs called Love and Respect. He's been influential in me and Cheyenne's marriage, and it's kind of based on Ephesians 5 and how a man would want to be respected and a wife would want to be loved. And I've kind of thought, what would that be between generations? Because we're talking about like division and being undivided and being united. And my opinion, if I was to write a book between generations, it would not be love and respect, it would be honor and belief. If the young people, I try to call them as like, hey, if you guys could like honor the older generation for the blood, sweat, tears, and everything that they gave to set a foundation for us to pursue what we get to pursue. Because a lot of them, today, I would say a lot of young people are pursuing their passion in their work, in their calling, and they're like, oh, I don't want to do that job, I'm not passionate about it. Well, I'm like, one, this is work. It's not this is a job. Like, if that's why they pay you is because you're not going to be passionate about it all the time. And just that, I think that generations before us, like my dad didn't get to do what he was passionate about, and his dad definitely didn't get to do what he was passionate about. I wasn't even on the table to decide. He did what provided, and now we have a foundation to maybe pursue our passions. So I was just like, hey, we've got to honor the generation that's gone before us. But I would say for older people, chronologically superior people, is if you guys could believe in the younger generation, there's nothing like being believed in where it's like, I'm in your corner no matter what. I see this, like I am seeing a turn of older generations. Like I see revival happening in this generation. I want to get involved. I'm putting whatever I can into reaching the next generation. There's just nothing like that. Like I look at David, you talk about ridiculous responsibility and putting your neck on the line, slingshot moment. Saul doesn't ever get much credit. It's usually a sermon illustration for like with lessons, but this dude put his neck on the line for David. And this is conjecture, but like, I think a reason why David maybe never forsaked Saul, a reason potentially, is because that guy put his neck on the line so much. Like if you think about it, his own dad, David's own dad didn't believe in him. Not even as an option to be potentially decided on. His brothers didn't seem to believe in him. They didn't even like that he was there. But I would say both kind of come together. He was all in, he was polishing. The only reason he even got his moment, if you will, was because he was willing to bring bread and cheese to his brother. He had every reason to be like, I'm the king, Dad. Like, I get you didn't pick me, but they did, and you're still trying to get me to polish. And because he was willing to do that, he was in the right place at the right time for the moment God prepared him for. But Saul had every reason to be like, bro, no offense, but aren't you the guy who like sings songs for me? You want me to let you fight him? And this is classic Gen Z or millennials, like, and here's how I want to do it, Saul. I don't want to wear your armor. And he's like, have you seen this, bro? Like, are you, I'm regretting my decision right now. And he must have had a hand of God on him. Yep. And he put his neck on the line for him. And I think many of us might have someone older who put their neck on the line for us. And it was 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago. They could call us today, no matter how busy you are. You'd be like, I would drop everything and help you because you saw something in me and believed in me when no one else did. And it helped me become who I am today.
I love it. Okay, so young leaders, what I want you to know is Grant was hyper responsive to anything someone shared with him. He would write it down and he would action it. And when he talked about just kind of fitting in, older leaders fitting people in on your schedule, Grant did that, and he would pursue people. And I remember him sharing a story one time. He said, "Hey, I wanted to meet with this guy." He goes, the only time I've got, I run in the morning at like 6 o'clock in the morning. If you want to run with me, show up. And I don't even think
I'll tell that.
Please do.
Okay.
That was the softball.
All right, this is so cool. This is so cool because I tell this story quite a bit, and I have never got to tell it to him, and he's here today. All right, if you're young and you want to get discipled, and you're like, I'm tired of waiting, and I don't think you should wait. I think you should pursue if you can. I want to train you in how to trick older people in discipling you. Is find out what they like to do for fun, whatever they like to do for fun, and act like that's what you like to do for fun as well. And then be like, so Raymond is one of the guys who I would say discipled me. Not at first, he didn't know he was doing that, but I snuck my way in there. And very busy man who's helped with The Chosen. He's helped with the Erwin Brothers movies. He's helped with so many different big, amazing things that we're familiar with. And I say that just to say he's a busy man who doesn't have a lot of time. And it took months to meet with him. So I was like, when I finally met with him at the McAllisters, like, can we get some more time together? Is there any chance? He's like, it was totally the breakup thing. He's like, hey, you're great. God's got his hand on you. I could see this, but like, it's not you, it's me. But I'm too busy. I can't do that. And I was kind of hurt. And I went home that night. I got his number at least. I'm like, all right, he's forced my hand. I am going to trick him into discipling me. And so I found out what he liked to do. Luckily, he liked to do something that, I don't know why people like to do this, but the people who do it love to post about it. They like can't help themselves from posting about it. It's called jogging. And so I knew he liked to run because the runners always post about it. They want to make sure you know their time. The left hand always knows what the right hand's doing for runners. And so all that to say, I texted him that night and I said, hey, Raymond, amazing time with you. Thank you so much for like giving me some of your time. I wish we could get more together. I did want to mention one thing though I realized is I just saw that you're like really into running. It's wild. I'm so into running right now. And we ended up running together because all of a sudden this guy who's so busy legit said, oh, you're into running? All of a sudden he wants to talk about it because we love converting people into our hobbies. And he's like, what are you doing tomorrow? Meet me at 4 if you're serious about running. And I'm like, why are y'all like this? It's always so early. And long story so much short is that guy did not even show up. Raymond was not there at 4 a.m. And I was so glad I did show up. I don't always get it right, but that time I did show up at 4 a.m. And around 7 a.m. he texted me. He's like, hey, I said 4. I should have been clear. I meant 4 p.m., not 4 a.m. And I ended up getting to continue to run with Raymond for several years. I met my girlfriend and then now my wife while running with Raymond. I wrote my first book when I was with Raymond. I made the decision to move to Nashville and join Think when I was with Raymond. And so if we could honor Raymond.
Hey, Raymond, could you stand up, brother? Could you stand up? Thank you. Thank you.
I think it's awesome. So I had a former pastor who would teach the same idea. He would talk about it as the 101 rule. And the idea was identify the 1% you have in common with someone else and spend 100% of your time there.
Yeah.
Like it's the way to connect with somebody until you find more common ground. So way to manipulate that and use it to your advantage. I think young leaders, you should put that one in your tool belt. It's really good. Yeah. And it would honor the older leaders in the room. Like, I think that's so good, man.
Because they don't have to then change their calendar.
That's right, yeah.
That's right.
You get to join. They're like, hey, I want to move around you. And
Spot on.
As long as
That's
they're willing to do that.
So, young leaders, what I want you to know is you heard Grant's presentation. You're like, man, I would love someone to do that for me. And what will not happen is you passively just sitting there and let people are going to queue up outside your room to come find you and do that for you. You are going to have to take initiative. You're going to have to respond to anything that you do get, any feedback. You're going to have to think. If they say read a book, you read the book. If they say show up here, you show up here. And just take a risk. If I had one big regret in my 20s, it's not seeking out people like Raymond that I thought would help me. I thought they're just too busy. What I know now, as a chronologically superior person, is that we make time for what's important to us.
Yeah.
There's always time if it's important to us. And you need to know that if you're a young person. They can always tell you no. It's okay, you'll get over it, or you just lie and manipulate, whatever. There's different ways to handle that, but take a risk, okay? Let's land the plane talking about, you did a great job talking to older leaders, but just rapid fire thoughts to older leaders in here. Emma?
Yep. To the older leaders, I would just beg, don't forget about us. And when I say us, I specifically mean younger women in your churches, or maybe women in general, honestly. But I've even this week at CLC had so many conversations with ladies who are like, man, how do I get to do what you do? How do I get a job where I feel like I'm using my gifts, or even not a job, just finding a place to serve in the church? And when we read 1 Corinthians 12, we see to each is given the manifestation of the Spirit for the common good, not just the good of women, but the common good, the whole church. And so if 50% of your congregation is sitting on the bench, or they're not even in the bench, like they're in the locker room because they can't see a place to serve, we need your help. And I know there are so many different convictions represented in this room surrounding women in ministry. And I'm not urging you to change your convictions. Wherever you land, I'm urging you to operate with care, clarity, and maybe creativity. That you'd have the eyes to see what are the women in my church gifted at, and how can I help them use their gifts to God's glory. David Peniel, who's up here doing the skit dressed as the crazy dad or pastor or whatever.
Senior pastor.
Yeah, the crazy senior pastor. He, 3.5 years ago, saw me trying to run in my gifts on Instagram, making posts, teaching the Bible. And I remember sitting in the coffee shop out there. I hardly knew him. And he came up to the table. I'm at coffee with another woman. He comes up to the table and like squats down with his hands on the table like this. And he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, who are you? but we start talking and he encouraged me. He recognized the gifting, and you fast forward the clock, and he created a job for me here at Watermark where I get to teach regularly. And that's not everyone's story. That's not always possible. They had to pay my salary, so you got to figure out those details. But he saw it and he got really creative, and now I'm hearing stories that our church is blessed because of that. And it's not me; it's God in me, but it's also God in David, who took the time to see me and advocate for me.
Love it. I love it. Kylen, anything?
Really good. Yeah, real quick. I think what's helpful if you're an older leader is just to know. And maybe this doesn't need to be said, but assumptions kill. The platform has moved. The platform's moved. Like 20, 30 years ago, this was the only platform through which you could garner spiritual influence and you could make a kingdom, not the only place you can make a kingdom impact, but a predominant place which you could make a kingdom impact. You could preach the Bible, you could lead people in the way of Jesus, you could teach the things of the gospel. This was the primary platform. Here's the thing. The platform doesn't exist solely within the church anymore. Now it exists within your pockets even. It's on the phone. It's by way of social media. In 2009, Facebook changed everything for us when they introduced the like feature. In 2010, Instagram took that to a completely different place by way of adopting the mentality of following people. You see, the world is going to disciple the next generation. We need to do the same thing. What I would say is If we don't disciple them in the way, then the world will disciple them in their way.
Yeah.
We have to do something about sharing our platform with the next generation. And I'm not saying throw them up there before they're ready, but I do think the idea of ridiculous responsibility is a really good one to take home and put into practice. TA did it for me. Blake Chilton did it for me. There are people in this room that have made the difference in my life by way of sharing that same sort of experience.
Grant, last words?
Yeah, I'd say just thank you guys for investing in the church, investing in the next generation. I was just quick, affirm, the churches I know that are crushing it at reaching young people have senior leadership that are like, we are all in on reaching the next generation. I often get asked, do you think we should have like a young adult ministry? Should we minister to them? I'm like, do you have a children's ministry? Do you have a middle school ministry, a high school ministry? Do you have a marriage ministry? It's like we have every stage, and we acknowledge this importance of those stages. We sometimes skip young adults, and I would just say there might be a reason why we're often missing this group, and we're still wondering, should we prioritize them? And I would say go all in with them, but also thank you, because I'm in a room that I just sense like this is a group that's for the next generation in so many ways. And I always want to apologize. I apologize that sometimes young people don't always like show this honor and humility to try to learn or ask questions. Or I'm with young people. I'm starting to sound like an old person. I'm like, dude, do you have any questions? Are you just gonna talk the whole time, or do you? Also, I'm like, hey, I always tell young people, take notes. Like, remember paper? Y'all remember that back in the day? And take notes. I've seen people open up when you can like just take notes, like that you're actually gonna do something with it. But I just want to apologize and thank you. And then I want to encourage by just saying, I always use this verse, is Matthew 17:17. You'll never see this verse on a coffee cup or in Hobby Lobby or in a kitchen, anywhere. It's red letters. Jesus said, oh, how long will I have to put up with you people? Jesus said that about the disciples, and he said, actually worse, you twisted and perverse generation is what he said. And I always think, man, if Jesus, sinless, led by the Holy Spirit, could get to a place of like, man, how long am I going to have to put up with you? Any of y'all parents, if you're honest, you'd say like, yeah, maybe in my heart at least, I've said, God, how long is this season going to last with my kids? And so I sometimes think we're looking for a silver bullet on how to reach the next generation. And it might be as hard and worth it as parenting in a lot of ways. But just know, like, you're in good company if it's hard, but it is worth it. Many of us have been messed up in all the right ways, like I said earlier, because people are like, I am going to continue to do it, even though it's hard. And those disciples ended up changing the world. And so sometimes you might see it later, but I just thank you guys for investing in the next gen.
Well, friends, thank you. Question is, what are you going to do with it? Those of you that are older, I would encourage you to take a next step. Begin to pray for 1, 2, 3 people. Take them to lunch, give them a call, shoot them a text. Even just to ask the simple question, hey, is there anything I can do for you? Even if they don't take you up on it in the moment, that you would ask that to them. I promise it's an inordinately powerful question that I've seen people come back and say, I can't believe you said that. Just put yourself in that path. Some people will go, hey, you're old, I don't want to hang out with you. That will happen, okay? But I think if you are listening to the Spirit, I think if you're just kind of have your radar turned on, you'll find people. And wouldn't it be great if they turned out to be one of these 3 people and have, a trillion followers on Instagram? That's great. But the church really is just built up of a bunch of average people exercising their gifts. And just go find young people and invest in them and get behind them and tell them they have what it takes, okay? And that's at the individual level, and at the church, think about what you can do. So some things, I'm really proud of our church that we're doing right now. One, our worship team is having a worship camp for junior high and high school kids this summer. Just invest in them. Come here. I guarantee that's all out of tune and a big hot mess and attitude, the whole bit. But they're wading in there, right? Our church spends a lot of money on our institute, our Watermark Institute. It's really kind of all costs, but it is, hey, we're trying to invest in the next generation. We'll have a young leaders cohort again this year, leaders that are under 40. We'll begin to tell you about that. But whatever it is, take your next step. And so one of the gifts we want to give you here as you leave this session is a summary of Grant's talk. So all 7 points here. And then on the back, what it has is blanks. There's 7 blanks. Start with 1. hey God, who would I want to give some of these gifts to? Would you show me how to do that? Would you open doors? Would you prompt me? And I would encourage you. And if I'm a senior pastor, I'm mandating this, okay? Everyone else on your staff, you're welcome. But I wouldn't be asking, because I think the stakes are really, really high. And so with that, because the stakes are so high, I think we should pray. Friends, thank you so much for being here. And Grant, thanks for a really great talk. All right. Well, hey, we are in the studio now, not on the CLC stage. So I have Emma and Kylen here. Guys, thanks so much for coming back. And also, thanks for that small, very, very fast piece at CLC. You guys did a great job. Heard some great feedback. So thanks for being here.
Honored to be a part of it. Oh gosh, sorry,
no.
Emma.
We didn't plan that. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Well, hey, so Emma, I'm going to start with you. So I thought what we would do is just like round out some of that conversation. It was really, really good. But I just felt like, man, I wish we had more time. So we have more time. I'm going to read off Grant's 7 points. And then I'd love for you to pick, one. If we have time, we could even do a second one. Just you to kind of say, this is, I think, what happened in my life. Like this is an example, maybe to help both younger leaders understand, what that could look like, and then older leaders, the role they can play. So we'll probably do the same format. So let's talk about younger leaders first, and then we will go to older leaders. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Okay, great. So Emma, here were the 7 points that Grant gave us. And again, if you've not listened to that, you can go back 1 week and you can hear Grant's entire talk. But these 7 things, kind of 7 ways you can develop younger leaders. 1, you can be a pivotal guide. 2, give prophetic affirmation. 3, provide courageous culture. 4, ridiculous responsibility. 5, slingshot moments. 6, crucial feedback. And 7, timely connections. So when you think about your leadership journey, Emma, is there any of those that kind of pop? You go, yep, I've got a story that resonates. There's something I have to say about that one.
Yeah, prophetic affirmation jumps off the page, which Grant defined as a person who notices and verbalizes a gift in you. Yeah. And that jumps off the page as being crucial in my leadership journey, because when I came to Watermark in 2019 as a fellow in the Institute, my shepherd, the older gal who was leading me, noticed that I came in knowing what my spiritual gifts were, knowing I wanted to write curriculum and teach. And she pointed that out as unique, which I wasn't aware was necessarily unique. Yeah. And the reason why that stood out to me was because I had that prophetic affirmation from a young age. So my earliest memory of that would be my high school dance coach at a public high school, but she was a believer who saw some leadership gifts in me and pushed me to run in them. Even though I was a sophomore, I wasn't a senior yet, but she's like, hey, God has wired you this way. You've got a responsibility in the ways that you're leading your peers. But then the second one in a ministry setting was when I was a senior in high school going into college, and it was my last summer at this Christian camp that our youth group went to. And my small group leader was asked to identify 2 students, a guy and a girl, to go on stage and read scripture and share something. I honestly, I don't even remember what it was we had to share.
Neither do they.
Yeah. But she was like, okay, yeah, I need to go find a girl. And she came to me and was like, hey, I've been asked to identify a student and I want it to be you. And here's why. And she'd noticed how I shared in the small group, how I was articulate, and saw that teaching gift. And that really deeply encouraged me. I was scared out of my mind to step on stage and never done something like that in a college auditorium. But it stuck with me.
I love it. I love it. Well, I would say, for young leaders, you remember, the good news is, Emma, you remember those. And I think a lot of times people, try to affirm something in us and then we forget. And so I would say, start a file on your phone where you write down things that people tell you are good at. And they won't come very often, but when it does, write it down and then see if you can find kind of this common thread, right? Or where do you get affirmed? Another one we always ask is, hey, where do you kind of have most energy? What could you do for days? So you want to be, as a young leader, you want to be listening to those things. You want to be looking for these themes in your life. And then as an older leader, those statements, in your life, Emma, probably took about 15 to 30 seconds each time. Right?
It wasn't long conversations.
Right. And there's an inordinate just kind of power in your words when you look someone in the eye who's younger and say, I see this in you. And because, sometimes it wouldn't take very long to do, you might discount the power of that. And pretty much everybody I know has got some version of that in their story. And don't discount that. And don't also think that if you're an older leader, well, it's just so obvious they should know that. Like you didn't even know this idea of just kind of right. And most people who have a gift don't know because it feels so obvious or it feels so easy. Mm-hmm. They don't know that that's like actually a thing. And an older leader or anybody can play that role to say, I don't know if you see this in you, but this is unique. This is different. I think God has given this to you to kind of steward. So really, that's a perfect example. So. Kylen, I'd love, kind of your thoughts as you reflect back on what we talked about on Grant's talk, top of mind stuff that we just didn't have time to cover in there. What else is in your head?
Yeah, I mean, I said some things on stage that they were catchy or click-worthy sound bites, and I thought,
that's your brand, man.
It kind of is.
That's who you are.
It's not even like I don't try. It's just the way my brain works.
It took me a long time to believe that. Because every time you would give like alliterations or you'd have 2 points and I thought, man, he's just making up. And now, when I ask you what you had for lunch, you frame it in like, in some kind of alliteration or this two opposing views. And it really is, I think it's really cool. I just didn't know it was natural. So,
yeah, totally. Okay. And I guess that's probably a good segue because whether I said this or not, I think it's important for young leaders. It was massively impactful advice whenever I heard it, which is God will not anoint some other version of you than the you that he's made.
That's good.
Case in point, my mind just thinks this way. So it's good that I live into that and I let my leadership be influenced by it. For a long time, just by way of like a young guy that was full of ambition, unbridled passion to kind of achieve something for myself. And I saw by way of the digital age, like all of my peers just kind of racing ahead and chasing down great goals. Man, I felt like I needed to maneuver and finesse and angle my way into becoming the sort of person that the world would look at and say, that's someone worth following. And yet what I realized in time was, man, the only person worth following will be the person that God has made to follow him. And that person has to be exactly who God has made. And so for me, I think to young leaders listening, it's like, man, you just need to be yourself. That sounds like such Gen Z advice.
It really does.
But
just be you.
It's true. Like that's not necessarily saying, man, that's licensed to not pursue godliness or to walk in the way of Jesus. But what I would say is, man, if you're introverted, like don't buck that train. Like maybe God's made you that way because you're supposed to be analytical, or maybe you walk in and you just can rapid fire ideas. Let that thing like lead.
I need that person.
Yeah, let that stuff really it's important and it's helpful to the people around you. And then I would say this too, if you're like me when I was in my 20s, you may be full of unbridled passion, full of ambition, trying to get someplace that it just can't feel like you're able to arrive at as soon as you'd like. Listen, your 20s are for learning. They're not for arriving. I tell that to young people all the time. Like, don't rush away today in hope of what's ahead for tomorrow. Because here's the thing, there are lessons that God wants to teach you right now that you won't learn whenever the future finally does come. I think that that's one of the great gifts of so many pastors. They start out in student ministry, and I know young guys are like, I don't want to do student ministry. It's like, you know what? That's where you learn to not take yourself so seriously. That's where you learn to preach to people, even if they're falling asleep and they're not paying attention. Like you learn so many valuable lessons by way of that stage of your development. So don't wish it away. And then the other side of it is too, if you don't deal with your stuff now, then other people have to deal with it later. And so there are things in you that you definitely need to either learn or unlearn, because that's going to help your leadership at some point in the future. So those are a few thoughts I've got, man.
Yeah, do your future teams, a favor and work on you. So you don't have to. That's really good.
Yeah, 100%.
I love where you started there, brother. Hey, be yourself. And now, I think when you're a younger leader, you don't yet know, exactly who you are. So that's okay. There is this kind of like funnel phenomenon where when you're young, you think you potentially could be amazing at several different things, like tons, dozens, many dozens. And what you will find, and this happens in a leader's journey, is that list gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And they find, as you kind of, refine your gifts, hone your gifts, you find that, or a leader will find that they add inordinate value, there's an inordinate result with either 1, 2, or 3 things, not all of the things. And they're probably really gifted. They could go do several things, but there's just, when they look back, they go, yeah, it feels like the hand of God is on me here. Or when I get positive and feedback, it's around this thing. When I feel energized, it's around this. But in your 20s and even in your 30s, you're still really just trying to hone down what that list, and it's part of the process. So you don't have to be angsty. You don't have to. That was, we've talked about that at CLC. This is a season to learn to trust God.
Yeah.
And it is a lesson you have to learn, because you're going to have to keep coming back to it. And that's where all throughout Scripture, when you see these people really hit their stride, there's this deep, deep trust in God. And some keep it all the way to the end, but not many. Many of them there was like these hard fought battles. So they trusted God. And then at the very end, it kind of slipped, and that was the beginning of the end. So learning to trust God, and then I think just being grateful for the ministry you have. I think we've quoted this verse quite a few times on the podcast, but 2 Timothy 4:5, where Paul tells Timothy, "Hey, fulfill," and the pronoun in the NIV is your ministry. So not someone else's, not a ministry you wish you had, not a ministry that someone on Instagram has, but you, like what's in front of you. And if you are, if you're a youth pastor, which I think honestly, as I look at this list of 7, a youth pastor is an amazing place to experience these things here in a way that you don't have to wait in line. And some other positions, like you can right away have ridiculous responsibility, right after college, and they give you the budget, and they give you the kids and the keys to the church van, which is really reckless. But it's a good place, and go fulfill your ministry. You're sitting under someone who gets to preach on Sunday or do something you're not doing, and go, you know what, I'm going to learn what God has for me. I will get good at just getting good at whatever's in front of me. And all of that's somehow going to come back into play in a way that I think will surprise you, and I think will really encourage you.
Yeah. I mean, he's a dear friend, former pastor of mine, that he always says, people want to do what I do, but they don't want to do what I did.
That's so good.
Yeah. The things that you did, those are the lessons you learned. So it's like, man, just be willing to, all that pent up ambition and angst that you might feel right now, what would it look like if you unleashed that into today?
So good.
Like, stand where your feet are planted. Excel at the revealed things, to quote Ben Stewart. Like, just do as well as you can where you're at. If you're going and getting coffee, man, like, do that to the best of your ability for anybody on your team. Yeah. If your job is to process spreadsheets, like, process the crud out of those things, get them done, and get them done early. It blesses everyone around you. It leaves like a lasting mark, and I think what happens is people see that, and that's the thing. People want to dignify hard work and good effort. Like, whenever you give the very best that you can, people are like, yeah, come give me more of that. I mean, doesn't the scripture say, like, if you do well with what's entrusted, then much more will be entrusted to you. And so it's like, yeah, just do that. Stand where your feet are planted, excel as well as you can.
I'd want to speak to the ladies listening, because I think sometimes, what was the quote, Kylen? You want to do what I do.
Yeah, you want to do what I do, but you don't want to do what I did.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll hear young ladies say, I want to be like Jenny Allen, or fill in the blank, who's a prominent female leader in ministry. And even as I'm approaching 30, I'll now start to hear the young girls right out of college say, I want to do what you do. How do I become like you? And sometimes that is a desire to want to be like someone else, and you need to be who God made you to be. But sometimes I think for women specifically, they don't have a lot of examples. And so they say that not because they're internally desiring that God made them differently, but because they haven't yet figured out, how has God made me, and what can I do in for the kingdom? And so I'd encourage the women to really thoughtfully think through, bring others in. How has God wired me? What am I good at? What do I need to try? Like maybe I'm saying I want to be like someone else, and I've never even tried doing what they do, be it kids ministry, student ministry, teaching, hospitality, whatever it is. But try things before you start setting goals that may not align with what you even enjoy.
That's good. And I would look, Emma, I think you do a good job just kind of asking for feedback and help to both men and to women. And so, I think you said to older leaders at the conference, hey, don't forget about women. And I would say to younger females, don't forget to ask for help.
Yes.
For men. Now, some people not want to help you? Sure. I mean, it's just math. But there will be some men who go, I would love to help you. Now, it might look a little bit different just because of gender, and we're not going to go take a car ride and, go
down to Waco together.
Right.
Yeah,
I like to go camping with my boys. Like, that's not happening. But hey, you know what? Can I make an appointment? I've got some questions. Could I email those to you, and could we sit down with them? Most men that I know would love that. There's a little bit of a just so you know, sometimes it's, hey, it's not me, it's you. There is sometimes there can be some insecurity, for men. Like, they're not gonna. It would be hard for some men to approach a younger female gal and say, hey, I just, how can I help you? What can I do? Right. And they just go, hey, stranger danger or whatever. Yeah. But I think older, men get over it. Don't be weird. Don't be creepy. But hey, she is your sister in Christ. How can you help her? She's God's daughter. How can you help? And then, take a step in a way that without these are all adults listening, with all the ways that are appropriate there.
Totally.
That's good. Well, I tell you what, let's switch and let's go to older leaders and kind of any other leftover thoughts, things that you didn't get to say that you'd love older leaders to know.
Yeah, maybe it even segues really well off of what you were saying there, just in sense of like, hey, be willing as a young leader, be willing to show up, have questions, ask someone, can I buy you coffee? Can I take you to lunch? And even if it's, man, I can't get repeated time with one person, then find repeated people that you can get some time with. That's something that I did for a long time is I found myself at a level of leadership where it's like, next to a senior pastor, there's not really someone that can help me take great strides in my current role. So what did I do? I found 4 different senior pastors to give me one call once a week for a month. It's just like, I'll just do whatever I have to so that way I can build in frequency. And the gift of it is I got plurality. But the turn on that, which I'm trying to make, is for the older leader, what you need to know is the best teacher is never personal experience. It's always someone else's experience. You older leaders have experienced so much, and it will be a gift to any young leader that can learn from it. So, man, let your battle scars, whatever wounds you've suffered, like let those things yield not just dividends in your own life, but in the lives of other generations by way of you just making them available and sharing them, both to men and women alike. I think that what I'm finding with young people is that they're disinterested in learning in their 20s because they often have no one to teach them. They're just having to learn on their own. They're having to learn by way of observation. I know that was a big part of my story.
Oh, yeah.
Is it didn't feel like I had some pivotal guides, but nobody that was like, man, I'm going to grab you and stick you to my side and we're going to race forward together. That was never my story.
You had to go find it.
I had to go find it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I was the kid that was walking across the church auditorium and approaching that man that I just knew he had a great family and I just wanted to ask him, or so I was willing to do that work, or I was willing to grow in my observational tendencies, my ability to observe people and just learn by way of what I see as well as I could, because no one was willing to teach me. If you're an older leader, be willing to teach someone.
Yeah.
It's so dignifying to a young person when you walk up to them and you say, hey, yes, I see these things. I would love to get time with you. And I would love to actually share some things that I think would be helpful.
This will be similar to, hey, use the angst you have now. Maybe the other side of that coin, Kylen. Most older leaders I know have both. They've got both people who did invest in them, people who saw something in them, took time, and then also a sense of loss, that there was more there to be had, both for them. They could have reached out and asked for more help. And then also there were some people that did not invest in them. There were people that did not encourage them. There were people that did not open doors or make connections that they saw at the time as possible, but that the older leaders weren't doing that. So you can take that pain, that regret, that frustration, and be the older leader that you wish you had when you were younger. Like you know what that feels like and what you so desperately wish for. Don't forget that. And a lot of times what happens is we get up into the treehouse and we raise the ladder, and we don't let people in there. And it's like, I was trying to get in there and now I'm in and now I won't let other people. No, Like, remember that. And that would be one of the best pieces of advice, is just to scan the room, scan the meeting and go, hey, who could I invest in? And what would that have meant to me if I were them? And just take a step. Now, a question I have for you guys, I don't meet older leaders that would go, I'm opposed to investing in young leaders. I don't want to do that. They're always irresponsible and they never follow through. That's going to happen at some point. But what would you say to an older leader? Like, I don't know that I got anything to offer. I don't know. And I think this came up a little bit, in the conference, but I don't know that I have anything to offer. No one is knocking at my door to kind of hang out with me. I don't, my Instagram account, my kids follow me, and my mom, like, no one's DMing me asking me for advice. So I don't know that I have anything to offer. What would you say to that leader?
You do have things to offer. I mean, there's practical, like in my own life, I have a mentor who heard me communicate how I want to get better at teaching God's word. And then she heard me say I had a preaching final coming up. And she said, hey, can I come and sit in on your class? Which I was like, I don't know, let me ask my professor. But he said yes. But she initiated, I hear you saying you want to grow in this. Can I come help you? And that was very practical and huge. She made herself present and was willing to tell me good feedback or critical feedback.
Amazing.
And that was helpful for me.
Yeah, and I think if you're an older leader, you don't have to offer everything.
It's good.
But you have something to offer.
It's good.
Because I think
it's so good.
Just, again, the other turn is, at one time you were a young leader and someone, they laid hands and they fanned in the flame the gift that was in you. And so what is that saying? You're good at something, and you know that's something. You've seen the fruit of it, right? You've seen the positive results that it's benefited into the lives of other people, and it's produced in the kingdom of God. And so if you walk up to a young leader and you're like, hey man, I don't know everything, but I do know something about this, and I think you also are good at that, that will be wildly compelling for a young person to be like, cool, let's thank you. You've simultaneously affirmed me, and now you're going to help me in this area that you've affirmed me.
Yeah, Kylen, that is really good. So I don't know that you actually know how profound you are, because you're still relatively young, but that is part of the insecurity, I think, is that. And I don't know that I've ever heard anybody talk about it. So thank you. You gave me some really good language, that you don't have to be everything. And a lot of leaders will look at other people and assume it's just not true, that they're completely well-rounded across every category. Therefore, I can't do that. But one of the things, this idea of timely connections that you can give is, you might not be good at that, but you probably know someone who is. And I'm actually thinking about my day. The reason like the light bulbs are going off, because I probably did much more of that today than I did actually. Let's grab 5 minutes and let me coach you up on something. It was, hey, I'm up against this, and I go, I know exactly who you should talk to, and they actually can help you way better than I can. And so I think that's a really pro tip. And so just free yourself, and so what you can ask is, hey, what are you up against? Like, where are you stuck? What are you working on?
Yeah, that's good.
Without you feeling like you have to, bail them out. Blow their minds with some really amazing insight. Tell me, and let me think about that. Let me pray about that with you. Maybe I'll have some wisdom. Let me think if I know anybody that could help you. That is massive. When people have connected me with other people who are really good at the thing that I'm kind of struggling with. But what a gift. What a gift. Anything else, Emma? Anything else for older leaders?
Yeah, I tell the older leaders, encourage the younger ones who you maybe want to invest in but don't know where to start, to ask questions. In my first job in ministry, my lead pastor, I worked at a smaller church, encouraged me just to come to him with questions about the church, things I didn't understand, questions about things I was learning. And about once a quarter, I'd come in with a sheet of notebook paper with questions I'd just jotted down as I read, as I studied the Bible, as I was working in this denomination for the first time with minimal exposure. And we'd only meet for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, but we'd just go through my questions, and that was so impactful. And all he did was tell me, ask questions.
Yep.
I'll meet with you if you ask questions.
I love it. Yeah, that if we're actually supposed to be talking to older leaders, but younger leaders, this isn't it's not a spiritual issue, but most older people like to talk about what they know and what they have competency in. Okay. So as where you might have thought, oh man, I'm being a hassle to this guy. He might've gone like, no, I actually get to use and leverage all this, knowledge I've accumulated, mistakes that I've made, stories that would that's normally fun for people. And so you can reach out, and again, some will say no, that's okay. Just keep reaching out. And then two, you can also bring other people along. So for a leader who thinks about leverage and maximizing things, meeting with Emma would be great. But if Emma had 2 or 3 other young gals on staff or just other young leaders and said, hey, would it be okay if we each kind of came with a couple questions and we just sat with you? Right. Then now he's like, but that makes even more sense, because now I don't have to have 4 different meetings. I can have one. And you will find yourself getting time, and so that's actually one of the things that I look for is, can you get other people to come? Always meet with people one-on-one, but it's an even easier yes to someone who will get their friends or other people who are trying to struggle through that same thing.
But to the older leader, I the reason why I share that story is, yes, young people asked to ask your questions. This older pastor sought me out and said, hey, there's not a lot of young people on our staff. You're new. All your friends have graduated college and left. I want to invest in you. Come with questions. And he taught me that skill.
That's good.
So it was his initiation, not mine.
That's really good. One thought to older leaders is it gets increasingly difficult to find people older than you who can speak life, people who know you, people who still have wisdom for you in this next season. But when you find them, treasure them, and be respectful, seek them out, and maximize those opportunities. So I met yesterday for lunch with one of those people. He's got 10 years on me, has walked with me, and I still am, even though in many respects we're peers, we do different things. He's very successful in what he does, and we actually talked about navigating success. That was one of the things he wanted to talk about. But I listened. This is still just the way I think. Even though he would say we're friends, he's still got 10 years on me. I'm still learning. When we were done, there was about half a dozen things that had just come up in the conversation. So things is, as physical as, hey, my knees are starting to hurt. Hey, I'm thinking about planning this trip. I'm wondering about this in this next season, and I think about meaning and purpose and things like that. So what I did, and this, again, I'm 52 years old. I'm not 22. I said, hey, thanks so much, blah, blah, blah. I've got some thoughts for you. So in his, little text thread where, Pam is working on her knees. I was like, here's the knees over toe guy. This has been really, really helpful to Pam. I actually checked on flights. I thought there was a direct and we were curious. I checked on it for you. And actually the direct runs between here and here during this period. Man, go take that trip with your wife. You absolutely should. You're wondering about it. I encourage you to do that. Here's the 2 book. I ordered the 2 books that we referenced. He was going to write it down in his note. And I said, no, I've got you. Don't even write it down. So there's 2 books that I wanted him to look at, and so they should be on his doorstep today. And there was a couple of other things, and I'm just not going to take that relationship for granted at my older age. Now, what it does move to a little bit more is learning from peers. That's how that goes. But if you have, and there's a couple other people in my life, I treat it as something really to be nurtured and not something to take advantage of. And I know that the window is going to shut on that. People's minds and bodies break down. So I'm on borrowed time across every, access. And so keep looking as an older leader for people even older, or people who have wisdom that you don't have. And I think just one other thing I want to say is, yes, we live our lives to the glory of God. We love others, we love Him. And also there's a part of us that we want to have meaning. We want to have purpose. And you older leaders, many of you have accomplished something, and there's still a little piece of you that goes, man, do I need to accomplish even more? Do I need to put some more trophies, in my case? Do I need to, whatever it is, add a 0 to whatever I'm doing? You may, if God's given you a thing, hit a deep ball, go for it. But I will tell you, the older leaders I know that are they are settled, They have joy. They have purpose. They have meaning. They're still learning. They're still sharp. They're older leaders who are investing in younger leaders every single time. They're taking what they've learned, all their hard fought for lessons, little pieces of wisdom that they've accumulated, and they are investing. And they don't look for the spot. They're done looking for the spotlight. Yeah. They're fine in it if you want to push them in there, but that's not what's driving them. They really are trying to invest in the next gen, and so it's not just joy, but there's also a clarity and sharpness of mind. I think when you give yourself to other people. And so anyway, yes, the goal of our life, be like Christ, glorify Him. But man, if you want to have purpose and you want to be happy, I would suggest to you pick up that little card with the 7 things, write some names on the back, and just start praying. And get after it. Yeah. And get after it. So, guys, I'll give you any last thoughts that you have, and then we'll look to shut this thing down.
I'll hop in because, John, what you were just saying reminded me of the recent cohort and conversation we were having with Chuck Swindoll.
Yeah, go talk. We've not talked about that on the podcast. I thought we might later, but we're here. Go.
Okay.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Please.
Well, I just. There's a lot to unpack there. Y'all should totally revisit it later on. But just one thing that we had this group of young leaders gathered together from around the nation in a room, and it was a cohort time where we were learning from one another, as well as some of the senior leaders here at Watermark. And they did us the honor of bringing in Chuck Swindoll. If you don't know who he is, then you should look him up and just go down the rabbit trail.
He is the legend. He is the living preaching legend right now.
Man, yeah. It's amazing. And yet there were a few things that stuck out to me from that time. I will restrain myself from saying all of them here. But there's one thing that I think that's really important, and it speaks exactly to what John was just talking about. If you're an older leader and you're like, man, but I've still got this thing that I want to hunt down, go for it, man. Yeah. But here's the thing. On your dying day, you won't say, bring all of my trophies and set them around me. Instead, you will want the people that you invested in, that you've loved and have loved you deeply, to gather around you instead. How great would it be as an older leader, as you lay there, your room is filled with, yes, your family, yes, your children, but also young leaders that you've invested in. I remember walking away and praying to the Lord, I pray my casket is carried by young men.
That's good, dude.
And so
really good.
I just think that there's something really powerful about the idea of, man, it's not your legacy. It's the legacy of the kingdom of God that should go forward. And the way that you continue that work and you carry on the name above all names, the name that is at the center of everything, which is Jesus, is you invest in other people. You invest in young people. Here's the thing that I would also add. Sorry, just one more thing. And this is I said this, and I just want to add more language to it because I think it's so important. If you weren't at CLC, then what I shared from stage was the platform has moved when it comes to the capital C church. It used to be within our building, but now it has gone online. And what I think is important about that idea is to know that high caliber leaders they're equal parts credibility and influence. And the thing is as the platform has moved online, that's the world saying you've got influence. Like, we're going to platform you. And yet, how do young leaders gain credibility? It's by way of the people they learn from, right? If you have someone that's high credibility and low influence, they're a manager. Someone that's high influence, low credibility, that's an influencer. But high credibility, high influence, that's a leader. Credibility, deep character, that comes from the hard work of heart work, which happens by way of rubbing shoulders and pushing against each other, learning from someone that has learned better than you and is helping you to learn as well. And so, am I telling you to share the platform? Maybe. I don't know. That's going to be up to you to decide. But I do think that there's something here in the sense that any success story is always marked by the famous words, you can't or you're crazy. And if everything goes according to plan, then you don't have a great story.
That's right.
Like, as you set young leaders up and you platform them for on the 7 ways to develop young leaders, ridiculous responsibility, number 4, in that slingshot moment where they really get catapulted into the next stratosphere. Yeah, you're giving them permission to fail, and you're the safety net in the case they do. But all of that is embedding within them something that, man, they cannot generate by way of them in and of themselves. They can only find by way of you cultivating it into themselves. So I would just say, man, take a shot on someone, share your platform. That's what changed the game for me. Someone put me up there, and listen, man, I froze. Like, I walked on that stage, slow motion. This was my moment. And then I got there and I turned and 10-second dead pause. No words. And yet he gave me another shot, and he gave me another shot, and now here I am today.
Yeah. Pay it forward, brother. It's going to be fun to watch you in the coming years play that role.
Yeah.
You are now, but
this is accountability, isn't it? Yeah.
That's good.
That's what
good.
this is.
That's right. Emma, any last words, friend?
Yeah, last words. I think seeing those around you is difficult for some, but it is a delight for others. And what I mean by that is for some people, it comes very natural to recognize those who are older or younger. And then for others, it feels intimidating. It feels awkward. Maybe we get carried around in the busyness. And I would say my natural bent is falling more on that difficult side. And I have learned that it's a discipline, that I need to be actively looking for those who are older than me. And who do I want to learn from, which Kylen, you touched in. But I would just encourage the listeners to evaluate, hey, is this something that comes really naturally for me? Or is this something that's hard? And in light of that, what is my next step? Am I taking on too many young people and I need to get a teammate to do it with me? Or am I not taking on any?
Yeah.
You know?
It's good. It's good. Guys, there were some really good things that were very helpful to me. So, which means I know they'll be helpful to the friends who listen to this. And so thanks for your hard work getting ready, for the CLC talk, which was so short, and then sharing a few other additional thoughts today. I think it'll be really, really helpful. So, friends, thanks so much for listening. We will put a link to this little handout that we've referenced with the seven ways to develop young leaders. If you haven't, I'd encourage you to go back and listen to the previous episode where Grant kind of laid that out and some of the specifics there. And then, as always, we're really grateful for what you do. We hold you in high regard, and if there's ways we can help, anything we can do for you, resources we can connect you to, please let us know. You can always do that at clp@watermark.org. That's clp@watermark.org.